want to see that?
No. What? You fucking piece of shit. No, he's fucking with you.
Okay, because American Sign Language can get wild when people got to start explaining.
Okay, we're recording. We're recording.
Oh shit.
We're gonna start over now. All right. So today we are going to explain the basic concepts of the inherent truths and laws of the universe, and how the subjugation of that fact could also influence or be influenced by your will and the beliefs of others. And the way I'm saying that is a simple way, because inherent truths and laws universally are inherent, but we can have our own beliefs and ideas, and we also have our own initial free will behind those matters. But on top of that, it doesn't change the fact that an inherent truth is still an inherent truth. And so I was trying to explain to Raven what an inherent truth is, because as far as I understand it, there are 12 inherent truths that are laws of the universe, like gravity, cause and effect. You know, these are kind of things that are part of the natural consensus. And I even got to a point further in the conversation before we started it here with David, because David's here with us now, is that some of this can go to a point where I think it may even be beyond some of our comprehension, because we are 3D beings, or we are fifth dimensional beings experiencing a 3D experience. Okay. And so then David can take the floor, and he can kind of give his thing from what he was hearing from what we discussed earlier. It can hear you, honestly. Probably don't even need to move it, because it's so loud.
So
you don't even need to move it.
So yeah, we were discussing about, like, you know, willfulness of choice, and how, you know, regardless of how you're brought to a decision, you ultimately make the decision consciously of your will and volition. And I agree with that statement, because regardless of how you get to the point, whether it's through an instability, a manipulation, or anything, you still have to make decisions. Like, no one can make a decision for you, kind of thing. And one of the things that was going to mention is that, like, because this goes into self-control, like handling your own mental health, and dealing with things. And one of the things that was best for me, and part of the reason I can exist without medication, is the realization that everything we do is a decision. Like, doesn't matter if it's an impulse that happens in the blink of an eye, you still have to make the choice to give into that impulse. That was like one of the biggest pieces of understanding I had when I was younger, because that let me realize that, like, I didn't have to lash out. I didn't have to attack someone. I had to consciously choose to do so. And so I could just as easily consciously choose to do the other thing and not give in to the stimulus, And so, I'm right there with you. Everything is a choice, regardless of how you get there.
Now, maybe you could give
anything to add, Raven?
Your point on why you were having your dissonance. Not so close, because it's super loud.
I understand. All I'm saying is, like, I understand that there's ultimately a choice that you make, but I'm also coming from a perspective of not necessarily just actions per se, but just, like, getting false narratives without... And the reason why they are false narratives is because there's no, like, physical proof or any type of proof, and it's just by the supposed inherent knowing. I just think that's not always good, and that can get dangerous at times. And I think especially how we just have our functionality as, like, humans, that's how we just communicate. It's like, that's how we tell things if they're true or not within our, like, realm of, like, being.
So, the reason I disagree with this is because regardless if that's how some of us come to that point, it doesn't change the fact that it has to start with you. That belief comes from within, and even if it comes from a social aspect, you are still making the conscious choice to choose so. So we all have the free will to decide these things, and maybe we have the deciding factor being that the general consensus says so, but that doesn't change the validity of what is actually real and not real, because you still make the choice. You still make the choice.
Something is real or not real then, and from your perspective?
Again, it could be, you could look at people across the planet and they could all say this different things, but at the end of the day, it's still something you're deciding. You know, there's a validity, and I feel like I understand what you're saying, and you're upset in a way pragmatically because people can be manipulated, but this doesn't change the fact that they're not being infringed upon their own free will, because nothing can infringe upon that. That's what I'm trying to say. Based on the universal law, you are the deciding person on your decision makings.
I don't know.
So we have been programmed to the idea that someone over us has more power than we do ourselves, but we forget that we are equals. Period and forever. Everyone, even maybe even like we could get to an esoteric sense and say aliens or other beings. Relatively, we are all still equal because we are still a consciousness and we are of the creator. Unless something's not of the creator, I guess then maybe they fall under different pretenses. But even then, it doesn't change the fact that those things still have to follow this universal law and this universe, or the universe inherently, because it is a universal law. And we have that inherent truth that is our free will. Nothing can infringe upon that.
I guess this is where I'm coming from. I guess is
Here, I got it. This make it easier. No, I got
like
it. You don't have to move.
like my problem is like inherent truth, inherent meanings, inherent anything, because who's giving that authority and where is that coming from? How do we prove it of like anything that's inherent?
So, okay,
You know, that's where I'm kind of coming from. And like I don't even know if I necessarily believe in free will per se.
So nothing gives anything inherent meaning or inherent truth but you.
Yeah, but then it wouldn't be inherent.
But the universal laws are inherent.
No, see that's
So the understanding, I know what you mean, but I'm saying a universal law is an inherent truth because it is something that no matter what people says about it, it is still always true.
How do you prove it though?
Because it has been proven. But it does, honestly, that's what I'm saying, is that it doesn't need the proof. Does gravity need proof?
Well, yes, but we've proven it because.
But even if we didn't prove it, it wouldn't change the fact that if gravity still exists, it still exists, right?
Right, but it's because we can continuously. So yeah, I'm thinking.
But then we're going before you say what you're saying, you're basically going off the sense that if we can't prove it, then it's not true.
Well, that we can't confirm its validity.
But that doesn't change the fact that something could still be true.
I think we're in a bit of a two sides of the same coin situation.
Maybe
this is where I'm feeling, because you're talking about inherent determinisms, right? Where like the individual, regardless of the information provided to its system, is the mechanism that makes the decision. And so therefore that is your free will, is decision making. It's the ability to make choice and discernments and determinations.
Yeah.
Right? And what Raven's looking at is less at the direct mechanism and the systems that surround it. See, this is where information becomes not inherently true because you can't always verify it.
Okay, but that's not what I was saying.
Right, so that's why I'm thinking we're two sides of the same coin, where these are mechanisms that are on slightly adjacent
the platforms. Universal laws are an inherent truth.
Right, because that's what I'm saying. You can gain continued evidence of the validity.
But even if there wasn't somebody to gain the validity of it, it's just something that is true. Cause and effect are true.
But we can once again we can test those.
The law of attraction.
I agree with you that whether we could. I get where you're coming from.
Right, if it's true, it's true. Whether we could test it or not. Yeah.
That's
a good point.
So hold on. So this is where I'm trying to get. I understand what you're saying now. I'm saying that let's say that there's a concept that we can't explain.
Right.
It doesn't change the fact that it's not true.
It doesn't change the fact that it's not true, but we can't verify its validity, and because of that, it's important to maintain a sort of more fluid understanding of the concept.
Right.
That it simply could be true.
But it doesn't change the fact that you're still making the conscious decision to say that it is.
Right.
Because you have free will. Everyone does.
Right.
So what I'm saying is that regardless, let's separate all these concepts.
Right.
The base core concept here is that you are always and forever in control of your own mind.
Right.
And you have your own free will choices to make those decisions because that's just the way the universe works.
Right.
Can you
I agree with that because that is the crux of determinism.
So at the end of the day, then none of this rest of this stuff matters.
Right.
in this in the pretense of the context of what you're saying, because then you're basically saying that the environment, being that it's subject to change, will influence your decisions. That's true, but it doesn't change the fact that these things are still true regardless, because you're going to make the decision regardless. And belief plays a factor in this, because if you believe something, you can actually change reality to an extent, except for the things that are inherent truth. Now, maybe for an example, a small example, if you believed you could fly, could you actually fly? I think that within the universal laws, if you actually believe that, maybe you could. But instead of making the fact that you are flying now and that you're changing the thing, what's actually happening more is your belief is so strong that your biological matrix now has come up with a way that would allow you to levitate. That's so what's actually happening isn't that you're breaking a universal law, it's that you're changing your biological matrix in a way that would allow that to be happening, because your belief is so strong that you made it happen. So it comes to we can reprogram our DNA, we can manifest anything we want, we can change our entire reality. I even believe that we are in control of our own reality, and that our brain is a reality matrix, and we project the reality in front of us as we move on. And so our individual realities are our own experience individually, forever and always, from our own vision. And this is what has been explained to me. Is that your eyes, your eyes are the projector. Your mind is the machine, and you project the reality because we're living in a holographic matrix. If you were to be outside of reality as an observer that wasn't one of us, there would be nothing. Because it'd be like a VR simulation. That we are like what we have done with technology has basically brought the concept of what our minds do into a technological simplification, but it's something that we're already doing. But instead of being a virtual world, we're affecting the physical world with our own minds, because they have proven time and time again that we have the power to affect physical reality and change it based upon its nature. On top of that, you can bring in the multiverse and all these other things that bring into the idea that there could be a universe where all that's true or not true, or subjugation to a whole other factor. So basically what I'm saying is, if let's think of it like this. We are a micro version of the universe itself creating itself, and we created the exact same thing that we're already experiencing with VR. So the universe, it allows us to experience this reality in the truest and most natural form we could through our bodies. And our bodies are like the VR, the vehicle, the hardware. And so the crazy thing that we've experienced is now we're experiencing where we can make the exact same concept true, except we haven't quite touched it because it's a virtual world, not a physical world. And in the virtual world, you can't affect the graphs, the things. Like, there are things that you can do with your body esoterically in an energetic sense that you can't do in a virtual world.
Right, because you just...
So we've basically made an artificial version of what we're already doing.
So yeah, this is there's an old sorcerer's phrase: perception is reality. And so the way I'm always kind of seeing it is less of just a projection. I kind of see where you're going with that though, but like essentially like you're talking about, you know,
it's a holographic universe.
Right, but that's because we utilize light.
Yeah.
For our and so this is where the vehicle, right, the hardware, the flesh that we're using to perceive initially and take in stimuli.
Yeah.
Right, is then used. You have the organic components that you don't really have control of, but then you have the consciousness, and that's where you're able to sort of influence reality. The thing is, and I don't know, I feel like a lot of people miss this. There's the I call it the hub reality. It is sort of the collective consensus of, our sort of type of, because we're humans, we have human consciousness, right?
Yeah.
Those particles kind of work together to create sort of a thing that is the agreed upon base state of our reality, using the stimulus and information that's brought into our system that our brain then compiles and presents to our consciousness for its administrative actions that we then utilize to perform actions and functions so that our system will continue to function.
Yeah.
Now, this is where when you get into the deeper workings of the consciousness and the fact that it is a perceiving particle that can interact with reality on a more fundamental level than simply, touching it.
Yeah.
You can really make your reality whatever you want.
Yeah.
But the problem is one person, you can't change hub reality. You can't alter the collective experience.
So
Under normal I have worked out an angle where you can later do this, but it's really not something you should do.
So what has been explained to me is that it's not so much that we are changing the hub reality.
Right, no, you're changing your own.
No, but I'm going to explain what that means. This is the craziest thing as a concept that has blown up everything and has changed reality for me as I know it. It doesn't matter that you can't change the hub reality. Do you know why?
Well,
because your reality is the only one that matters. And when you change that, do you know what happens? Imagine the multiverse. You are taking your consciousness and you are moving into a version of yourself that aligns better with what you want. So if you're saying you want to manifest any reality you want, then you're manifesting a version of yourself and then aligning with that, and then you jump to that reality. You leave your old reality behind literally seconds and billions of seconds at a time. Every single day, every moment, every second. That is what has been explained from a channeling from another being, from another planet, another galaxy, from a higher form of consciousness, and they've achieved something else. Maybe that's true, maybe that's not. But the way that he was explaining it is basically saying that you are changing realities by the seconds.
Right, yeah, because of your
decision
is constantly altering.
But it's you. It's not like somebody else. It's like Rick and Morty.
No, yeah,
it is, but it's happening. Yeah. And they touched on it a little bit, but it's like because like you could split it in half between this point and this point, but between this point and this point, this is arbitrary because between here and here is infinite. It's infinite regardless. So the idea then there is that whatever you want, you are then aligning yourself with that. Right. And then you become that. But then people wonder, well, okay, am I taking over myself? But if anything, what happens is you just join the other you. And it happens so simultaneously you don't even notice it. Mm-hmm. And the other you doesn't even notice it. Oh, yeah. Because the other you is also thinking the same thing.
Right, and you guys essentially harmonize.
And so there doesn't even really matter a difference on you.
So I think
because
so do you
if we think of
reality is a dream of some higher
in a way,
entity?
yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
In a way, yeah. Because
I was gonna say at the initial where this part started, this is where we reach 2 points.
Yeah.
One where reality is a dreamer, right? Yeah. Where everything exists in the psychic dimension.
Yeah.
And there is no discernment between regular material reality.
Well, not necessarily.
Because like
I have a different understanding. Because I can explain that.
I don't usually work off of that one because I just really hope that reality isn't a dreamer setup, just because it's harder to.
So it is and it isn't, and I'm gonna explain that. Rough. It is and it isn't. So like I said, I think it's almost comedical that we have made, and I use the VR as an example because of what that technology is. I'm basically saying that the way that I understand it is, VR is making a virtual version of our reality that we can experience. But what we're actually doing is your fifth dimensional consciousness is projecting itself down into a body that then the body experiences physical reality. Physical reality is physical reality. It's just on a different plane. So all of reality, this is why I say it's a holographic universe. All of reality is happening here and now at the same time, especially at the quantum level. But you are perceiving it in the way that it is from the body because the body exists in the 3D. Mm-hmm. Now, they're saying we're moving into the 4D, the 5D. We are getting to these points, even in our own bodies, to experience the way that we experience reality already from a different perspective. But even if we don't want to touch on that, just to understand the basic core concept here is that your body is not you. Your consciousness is a soul. You are an eternal being that exists forever and always, in the eternal sense of the universe, and you don't die. Your body dies, and your body will continue to die, and you will continue to experience experiences that may not even inherently involve this earth. You could experience experiences in an alien somewhere else. That is just all part, and it's only alien because it would be alien to us. But in general, the purpose of all this in general is to experience the experience because it's an experience in general. And it means you can do whatever you want. That it all comes back to the whole there's no inherent meaning or truth behind it. And we were even talking about this the other day that maybe chaos seems to be the basic root of nature because nature isn't bound by good or bad.
Well, no, it's just bound.
It
by
just is.
Success
Chaos
or fail.
is order.
It's pass fail.
Yeah.
And
Well, but
this is
it
what I
just
get at a
is.
lot. Chaos and order are another two sides of the
Yeah.
same coin.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's really just perspective at what point you're looking at.
Yeah.
And I've always said, if you're up close, it's chaos. If you're pulled back, far away, it'll always look like order.
Yeah,
every
exactly.
time. And that's just because the need for systems to flow and converge. And
But what I'm basically saying is I think from our human perspective, we're trying to understand something that I don't think we have the basis for. Period.
well, I mean, yeah, that kind of makes sense. I mean,
You know.
I mean, that's
the
the
down.
whole point. Is
Yeah,
get into the root
limited.
Of it.
Yeah, limited
that's why
perspective.
that's why
and
like,
you got
have
to talk
this
about
process.
stuff.
That's why we
Yeah.
create up a process that seems to be,
Yeah.
even if it's not
Yeah.
the true truth,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
at least
It's
our
at least-
species' truth
Yeah.
because it's the one that's making
And
the
it-
most
And it's at least
sense
information we can begin
that
to
can
validate.
convey us to be like
'Cause
okay with it.
That's
I guess-
one of the
then
reasons
I-
can't really go for the 5D. And I
Yeah.
also do gotta go like what do you consider a dimension? Because I've always just their parameters, and I essentially instead of 3D put us at 4D because time's a dimension. Well, no, we are.
We're in the 3D.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like it's like a parameter. And once
So
you get
the way-
past
the way
fourth
was-
dimension, I really just don't even know how to conceptualize
Exactly, and you wouldn't have a basis.
Like-
So what the way it's been explained to me is that if we're in a holographic universe, it means that the only reason it's physical for us is because we're in the 3D and we're experiencing the 3D.
Right.
But from a higher dimensional being, they see it like this. All of it happens at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's like
a
it's like if you put a piece of plastic that was see through over something, from this perspective, fine, you see what you see, but imagine that plastic is now see through, and then you can see multiple layers. I'm basically saying I don't know if we would even understand what that would mean.
Oh yeah, we really would.
Or like reality would change completely and fundamentally
It's a
with
fun-
our own.
yeah, it's always a
Like
fun
you, like
thing
like
trying
for
to
like
think of.
if we're saying we're experiencing the Earth from this perspective on in the 3D, then if we were to experience 4D perspective, then we'd start to see entities appear.
Yeah, and
We'd
well,
start to see
yeah, we
energies
would
appear.
experience all
We'd
time
start
at
to see
once.
time appear.
Yeah.
We'd start to our entire reality would break down in front of us.
We would essentially become it's kind of funny like
Yeah.
Mr. Manhattan. Mr. Manhattan is a 4D.
Yeah, exactly.
He knows all of his moments at the same time, but he's because he's existing in every one of those moments
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah.
But as a result of that, all of them are genuinely new experiences
Yeah.
at the same time.
At the same time.
Across his
So that's what I'm saying. Is your
entire
brain?
timeline.
This is why
Yeah.
it gets to a
He's the
really
best example
like I
of a
fucked
4D
myself
game.
up I
feel
with my
you.
own mind. Is that your brain is experiencing reality at the quantum level, but because it's encased in a biological body, it has the limited perception of the physical vehicle.
Right.
But within your own mind, you also have the non-limitations of the is esoteric.
Well, that's where the consciousness
Is that how you say
and
it?
the ability to
So within
access-
your own mind,
know.
they call it imagination, but you can experience anything.
right.
I mean, yeah.
But at the same time, you could also experiencing your past self. You could experience your future self. What if when we look into our memories, we're actually using a window to look into the past, and then we actually coincide and interact with? No, I'm telling you, this is what's happened for me. So I've had this experience myself. We talk about things, right? Where's the validity of this? Well, validity or not, this is something I've experienced within myself because of the whole psychic stuff. When I connect with a memory, the memory sometimes is so real that I realize that now I am present with the past version of myself and the version of myself now. And then we kind of had this like doorway experience where we can talk and interact. And the trippy thing about it is when I was a kid, I didn't realize that it was myself necessarily. I thought it was higher consciousness, but I realized that it was just me. And so now I'm having that back and forth way
Yeah,
where
I
I
see what you
realize
mean
that
now.
I'm experiencing that so
You
to get
actually bumped into
myself
something fun, didn't you?
to get myself through those experiences, I'm realizing I'm doing it now.
Yeah.
As the older version of myself, looking back at the younger version of myself saying I wanted to do this.
Yeah.
And then there was even some stuff I found in the spiritual community that was basically saying that that's the way to get through things and unlock it like a hack or whatever in a way, is that you help yourself, you talk to yourself, and then you can do this in a future sense. One of the craziest quantum manifestation jumps you'll ever do is come up with something you want, manifest it, do all the steps, but then when you get to that point, you thank yourself for doing it. I'm here, I'm experiencing, I just did it, and then you recognize that you were the one that achieved this. And when that happens, it's like the channels opened up. And you're no longer experiencing reality the way you thought you were experiencing it before. Now you're experiencing reality the way that it is. And that starts to change everything for you. And when I've had these moments, I'm telling you, I shit you fucking not, I've had to like mind wipe myself because of this. I start to see every conceivable reality possible. I mean, I'll sit there and I'll feel it like it's drilling into my fucking skull, and I'll see flashes of images happening instantaneously. But when I see these images, it's not like I can't keep up. It's like I'm keeping up with it, and then I'm knowing all of it at the same time. And then after the experience stops, I have to pull myself back into a smaller sense so that I can continue to exist the way that we exist now, because it's too much. And then I have to assimilate what I can and then store the rest of it for later. And I did this as a kid. I realized I'm doing this over and over again. And I haven't told you this, but when I was a kid, I saw so far into the future that I saw events and things that would take place that I had to mind wipe myself so that I could live a normal life, because I would know too much. I would infringe upon my own. I would infringe upon my own actions.
I believe I actually do understand. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's stuff. I've always struggled to put into words, but I actually do think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've always struggled to really explain how this stuff functions, because like time isn't actually linear. We just perceive it.
We
as
perceived
such.
it that way.
And because of that, you are essentially interacting with yourself at all points. Oh god, see, it's always so hard to put this shit into words.
Yeah.
But
and that's what I was telling him earlier, is that a lot of these things we don't have words for.
Yeah, see,
and so I feel like part of my purpose is to give people that understanding.
Yeah, and like,
so explain it for them.
When you start seeing the every conceivable, because like I've been there, and I always called this paths.
Yeah.
And it's because it's just the various paths we can take. But this is, so when you get into like quantum superposition and possibility, and how things are all kind of equally sort of existing. Oh god, as various probabilities and concepts, right? It's difficult to discern which series of these phenomenon are going to follow your linear projection. And so it actually gets quite difficult to discern what's going to be an accurate path from an inaccurate path.
Do you want me? Can I explain a little bit?
Go ahead. Because
okay.
Honestly, I'm fumbling and I'm struggling to really put what I'm trying to
So I've never put this into words, and I will explain it, because this has been an interesting concept for myself. Because I accept that I'm psychic, even though I know everybody's psychic, I know that I'm more aware of it. I know that I can see the future constantly. There are times when there are things that are hard to see and that I'm not gonna see. But the way that I do it is I call it like the threefold, or maybe like the fivefold, depending on what it is. And so let's say that I make a decision. I can see enough in the future that I can play out the most probable outcome based upon the parameters given. And so I can use my brain as like a computer, a quantum computer, to give the simulation of what has the possibility to happen, even though at any given moment, another factor could happen that could change the outcome.
Right.
But in a general consensus, before I make a decision, I know that there are about 5 to 10 things that can or will go wrong or go right that will make this action happen, and then I play them over 1,000 times.
Right.
And so when you come to a point where you see the same thing enough times, that is where you come to a point of understanding that this will happen.
Right, yeah.
So
it's just
then,
classic,
it's probability factors. You
and-
run the numbers.
Yeah.
And but people don't understand what that actually means. When I say I run the numbers, I mean I actually watch it happen.
Right.
Whether I'm watching my death, I'm watching me in a relationship, I'm watching the future hang out, whatever it is. And in that example, I have seen, let's say for relationships, I've seen it go to the highest extent it could go through. But at the end of the day, it still doesn't change the fact that you don't really know what's going to happen until you go through it.
Right, yeah.
Because you
I
can
can
look at the
relate to
future
this.
all you
I
want,
do
but
a
then
lot of
once you look
simulating.
at the future, it's changed,
Right.
and it becomes
Because now
different.
you added
It's
your-
called the looking glass paradox.
Oh, okay.
The looking
Yeah,
glass
right.
paradox. I just came up with that. I don't know,
Okay,
but
cool.
it's I use some words.
'Cause, like,
I just came up with that. It's good though. I mean, I'll patent it.
'cause
The looking
I know
glass
what you mean,
paradox.
though, yeah, because it is one, and this.
I've been
is-
told this though. It's a real
this is
thing.
where, yeah, so
I just gave it a name.
and this is where we like clear, like what something is.
Yeah.
This is your ability to process large amounts of data because we have access
Yeah.
to such good hardware. And
She just wants to keep running around.
we're able to run probability factors, run simulations over and over again, add and remove variables, change constants, change variables. And
We forget a butterfly like that example is something so insignificant to us, but it can change
It can
entire.
alter something.
It can alter something,
Right.
and so we can run the numbers, but
But
sometimes we
you'll still get
forget that
something
the
different.
numbers maybe we aren't even running it the way we think we could.
Right, and this is where, like, you realize, being able to understand that and interact with it is less of, an extra ability and more just the ability to process information.
Which is something we
And-
forget that we all are doing.
Yeah, people will forget that. Like, they just kind of exist and they live and they don't
Yeah.
really think about, the vectors that existence and decision making comes from.
I have a question for David. And this is me being from like a more open-minded place, I guess. Could society or like the human species run on the base of belief of the 12 universal laws? Like could we run on that and not find any like heavy conundrums? And
See,
just on those bases.
I would probably need more understanding on these 12 and those concepts, but I don't know. It's
Do you have your
kind of one of those things.
Are you a raven?
Yeah, but because I don't know what they all are.
Gravity is one.
Yeah, because like I don't know what all of them are in this, and society is a weird one because like, and this is where reality is not very kind.
No, not the AI over you. Go to the picture. Like, go to Google Images.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that one's easy. Yeah, that's the one I found.
Here we go.
And read them off.
Alright, so we got law of divine oneness. Everything is connected. Law of vibration. Everything has unique vibrational frequency. Law of attraction. What is like unto itself is drawn. Law of correspondence. As above, so below. Law of action. Manifestation requires aligned action. Law of cause and effect. Every action has a consequence. Law of compensation. We are rewarded for right action. Well, that one right there is false. You're not always rewarded for right action.
Well, see,
That's
then
just-
that one comes to...
This is where probability comes
No,
into
but
play.
but that one comes into your idea of right action being rewarded is based upon a when.
Like, what do you mean, like?
So let's say that you did something right. The universe remembers that, but then because it didn't happen to you right now, you think that it wasn't justified. So, but then later on something good happens, and then you don't realize that it was because you were part of that.
Right, but so like, I guarantee you, in some horrible war-torn village, there's some little kid that like gave their last piece of food and did a really great right action to someone else, and then proceeded to get like brutally gang raped and murdered.
Okay.
Like, and
But do you think the universe
no.
forgets that?
Well, see, and then I guess this is where we come into the play of because you believe in that whole like multitude of lives, and
Yeah.
I have a difference where I
And
believe
that the
every
universe is
signature is.
conscious of like as like a higher being.
So I have some weird
Well, we get into
come and
weird
go with that
places,
because
though.
that's like that is a hard one for me to like go one way or the other on because there is some sort of superorganism at play there, but I don't know if it's actually deterministic or if it's just a series of cause and effect
I think
relationships.
it's both.
It could be honestly
Because again, we are a collective. But I think
Well,
what we forget is that we always say human collective,
Is there
right?
any more?
yeah. There's a few more. So that was 7. So number 8, law of perpetual transmutation of energy. Energy is always moving and always changing. Yeah, that's fair. Law of relativity. It's all relative. Yeah. Law of polarity. There's two sides to everything.
fucking
Unless monopoles exist.
Too much to like.
Oof.
She can never fucking sit.
Law of rhythm. Nothing is permanent. That's fair. Law of gender. Manifestation requires a balance of energies. So I guess the downside.
So the gender
is-
one is really interesting because it's basically saying that there is a duality. We are in a
See,
binary
that
universe.
is kind of
I don't
funny
believe
because
But we are.
like.
No.
I'm telling you, these are inherent truths.
I'm telling you, I did not.
So-
believe
How
that.
you understand that or not doesn't change the fact that they are inherent truths.
Why does the universe
There is a
about,
yin
like,
and yang. It doesn't. It's not. It's because your concept of that means that you think it needs to care. It's not about caring. It just is.
Yeah, right. I can get that being and all that stuff, but so like
Like that's what like
so
okay.
like balance
On
of
a
energies, you're
microscopic
just- 'cause
example.
I'm assuming this isn't talking about like sex. I'm assuming this is talking about positive and negative. And,
I
like,
mean,
yin and
it
yang.
says gender for a reason. It's talking about
Yeah,
the
but gender
polarity
got
between a
pussies,
masculine and a feminine.
Gender is a social construct.
Gender is
of-
No,
100%
you think that.
No, but gender
No.
is 100% a social construct.
No, you guys think
Like-
that. No, you guys are missing the word gender in this example is talking about the sex. It's talking about male and female.
Like
Because there is
Okay,
male and female
but-
in the universe, period.
Okay, but like.
Do you get what I mean? Like to procreate, it takes a male and a female of any
Sure,
being.
but that's a sex.
not
That's-
necessarily.
Well, okay, but
that's
generally,
true.
Generally,
let's just we're not
Because I was
talking about
gonna
these
say,
these anomalies.
Like if I go real,
Yeah.
but if you go really hard
Yeah.
into the actual like core aspects of how it works, and you don't, you
Okay,
get-
but
you
can I
get-
can I
you
explain
get,
this?
like, Petri
This
dish on
is
that.
another example. The moon is male. The moon or not the moon.
Is
The
like-
the sun is masculine. The moon is feminine.
Yeah, how?
And
Right.
what?
But
Because it's an
that's-
energy.
But that's
It's an
how do we-
energy.
yeah, but how do we get that?
It's based on human concepts.
It's not based on human concept. This
I
is what I'm saying.
guarantee
This stuff
you
is
it is.
beyond human concept. That's what I'm trying to tell
That's
you.
the thing that isn't. That is like straight up a human concept.
No, you
The
think it
idea of
is.
sex is.
I'm not talking about sex.
And,
Or
like,
I mean,
like,
I'm talking
masculine
about
and
biological
fem-
sex.
Right, like masculine and feminine.
But there's an
concepts
energy.
Come and yeah, there are energies, but they come from a very human source.
Okay, but I'm talking about the in the spiritual community, there's been something that's been brought up that these energy inherently have a feminine and a masculine side to them. The understanding of that is a polarity dissonance in our universe, meaning that there is a masculine side of things and a feminine side of things that is an energy. It's an inherent energy. It's not a human.
It's a shaper
It's
of
no.
intent.
Listen. There's a
Like-
There's a human concept that we have developed. Fine. That's I get
Right.
what
That's
where you're
where-
coming at,
yeah.
and that where you have a really big issue with this in our everyday life right now today. But it doesn't change the fact that there is a universal version of this. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. There is a universal version of this that has nothing to do with our human version of it. There's
Right.
something beyond the body.
But like
That's what I'm saying.
Cosmic reproduction essentially is asexual because things.
Okay, right, but I'm not. We're not
like-
like that's what you're getting into. Like
Because I might be missing something.
that's what I'm trying to explain it.
Because reality just isn't inherently masculine or feminine in any way, and its concepts don't align.
No,
with
it's
that.
both. It's a duality. We are living in a
Okay,
binary
so would
universe.
that make it non-binary though?
No.
No, like
if you
it
have a
means
dual
that there's a
setup,
balance. It's
fine,
called
yeah.
yin and yang.
No, but it's both.
Right, but this
Yeah.
term is less masculine, feminine, and more positive, negative based.
No, see, but that's what I'm saying is you're
Right.
taking a concept and then having your own definition behind it, and I'm saying that there's a meaning behind that concept. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. We have
It's weird.
we
It's
have a
weird.
human understanding that we have taken over and explained away something that has an explanation behind it that has a core aspect to it. That's what I'm trying to say.
But how is the order of that operation? Where
I don't necessarily have all that. That's what I'm trying to say. I can just explain to you as much as I know.
Is that the order of this operation is positive and negative in this situation, then is modulated into the concept of masculinity and femininity energies, because that is then the human perception.
Okay, but listen.
The fundamental concept is positive negative duality and the need for a balanced equation.
Okay, fine. Right.
I totally get that.
But what I'm telling you is what if the energies that you don't understand, or not you don't understand. I'm trying to think how to say this, because this is such a hard concept to explain to some people who don't get it. There are masculine energies and there are feminine energies, and within the human body, regardless if you are a male or a female, you have masculine and feminine energy within yourself.
Right.
That's it.
As a result
Period.
of the two organelles in your brain that govern those concepts as a
Okay,
human.
if you want to break it down to a science, that's what I'm saying. I feel
that's
like
how I do
no,
think.
but I know
That's just how I do
you
think.
do that, but I'm saying I
That's
think
how-
that is a gross example of how this all works from the universal sense. That's what I'm trying to say. I think it's almost silly that we try and explain things away with science. That's why I have a completely different viewpoint of this. I really do, because
Honestly, this is definitely one where we're very because to me, science is the method to explain.
No, I know it is, but I'm saying that the to believe that we have any validity to explain something like that with science diminishes the actual point of it. You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to say. That a lot of this stuff really is a core esoteric, something that can't necessarily be explained. And that we explain it away with science, but it can't be explained.
Due to a limitation of
the physical body, based
to
upon our
continue
understanding.
Going forward, we have to then explain them.
All right,
And
so
that's
maybe
why
at some
have
point we
to
would
try.
get there, but I'm saying we
Yeah.
aren't there yet. That's what I'm trying to say. We aren't there yet
How
with the
do
explanation
you
we
even
have.
define what is technically, like, what gives any meaning to a feminine and a masculine?
Well, maybe that's where you guys got to do a little bit of research, because there is research that explains this.
But
I just don't have it necessarily.
And
just
that's
like,
what
I
I'm
do have
going to, to the
explanations.
word
Like,
inherit.
okay.
Inherit would be, like, a very...
It is
more
a very-
simple-
No,
Yeah,
I
it's
know, and
foundational.
I'm saying that there is to that. I just don't have the source. That's what I'm telling you. Not right now.
But,
there is the
that's
moon
cool.
is a feminine energy. That's what I'm trying to tell you. The moon is a feminine energy, and the
Right.
sun is a masculine energy. No, I'm saying that the way it's been explained to me in a spiritual sense is the sun literally gives off inherent masculine energy, and the moon literally gives off inherent feminine energy. That's their purpose in the universal sense. It is going to get... No, I mean, like, well, maybe just look it up then if you can't fucking understand it. I don't know how else to explain it.
I do, but this is where me and a lot of other sorcerers and people of these types of communities really start to differ in our opinions, because consciousness is the root thing that is altering. If you're utilizing concepts like masculine and feminine energies and whatever it is you're doing, it isn't from the source of reality. It is from the human source of concepts.
So I don't know how else to explain that what I found is not inherently human bound. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay.
It was an explanation from a cosmic sense.
Okay.
It basically saying that the sun is a masculine energy. It produces masculine energy. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's not it's like your understanding of masculine means that it has to be a man. It's like you're missing the part of what I'm trying to explain.
Well,
I mean, it is a man, but it's not man in the way that you think.
Right, not necessarily dick and balls, but just those concepts.
Well,
of
yes, sort
Well,
of.
then...
I think he means more like
Because
seed
you can have a
shit
dick
like
and
that.
balls. Like, how else do you procreate life from that regard?
I'm trying to abstract a little.
Contradicts itself.
Oh yeah, I'm missing something.
Fine, maybe
I'm trying to
the
abstract it a
masculine
bit.
energy doesn't have
Isn't
this
necessarily-
inherent that way.
Isn't
You know,
the
but
genitals thing. It's the
That's what I'm saying,
concepts
there's a
behind
sex,
those genitals.
And then there's like a concept.
Right,
of,
and
like,
this is where the
I
ideas
don't
of
know,
gender
dude.
come
I
into
think you
play.
guys make the society is over fucking complicated it. That's what I'm
no,
saying.
we're
The,
actually trying to
the
simplify
concepts of masculinity and femininity are all born.
Okay,
out of
Google it.
social
No,
construct.
Google it. If you guys can't fucking get this
Bro,
without a
what?
goddamn
I'm
source,
fucking telling
Google it.
you, like.
Look up the moon and the sun, masculine, feminine energy, or something like that. I don't know how to fucking say that.
These are concepts from human.
It's not. That's what I'm telling
Here's
you.
why, because
It's not.
a clownfish, for example, freaking Finding Nemo.
Yes.
Like,
No, sorry, hold on.
they
The reason
change their
this
sex.
hold on. That doesn't matter. That's what you're missing what I'm saying. That doesn't matter.
no, but then that literally.
No. So I'm not done, and I'm literally trying to explain it. From what I've been explained at the spiritual level, from an esoteric sense, this is something that I learned from like in witchcraft and stuff, is that the moon produces feminine energy and the sun produces masculine energy because there is a masculine and feminine energy that is within ourselves and the universe as a whole.
What is this? LinkedIn? What? I think I found one that actually gives wording that's similar to what you're
Okay,
getting
it's
at.
so hard to explain
But,
what
like,
I'm trying to say,
I
but it's
do
at
know what you're saying.
at a cosmic
I'm just-
level. It has
I'm
nothing
just
to do with
saying
the
it
human
isn't
aspect.
cosmic,
It
it's
is.
human.
It is.
Like, because the cosmic.
So I'm gonna break
Concepts.
it down. I have another way to explain it. I understand that you're saying that you guys keep bringing up examples of animals that can procreate without the way that you're saying it. It doesn't change the fact that there's still a masculine and feminine energy within
No,
that.
defy it,
I'm
though,
not. No, you're
because
not
it's
letting me
inherent.
finish. You're not letting me finish.
Sorry.
It doesn't matter if I'm saying it's inherent or not. It doesn't.
Well, you are because
No,
that's
because
what
your
we're
definition
conversating.
of what I'm saying is beyond what I'm trying to explain, or it's over here. It's not what I'm saying. You're missing what I'm saying. I'm saying it doesn't matter if the organism procreates in the way that you're understanding, because it sounds like what you're telling me is that unless a man and a woman does a man and woman's thing, even if they're a beast of some kind, then it's not masculine or feminine. That's like what what you're saying. I'm stupefying it. I'm grossly stupefying it. Can you sit the fuck down? Fuck, dude. Like, this is such a. I'm saying that the way it's been explained to me from a witchcraft perspective, in an esoteric sense, is that this is an inherent truth. There is a masculine and feminine energy within the universe itself.
Sure.
That if you want to look at it that way, that God is a two-sided coin, and that God is a male and a female at the same time.
Yeah, but it
that
should be
no, I'm not
non-binary.
done. I'm not done. It's not about being fucking non-binary. Listen to what I'm fucking saying. I'm saying that if you split the consciousness of God down to an energy, and half of it is masculine and half of it is feminine, then God is not one being. God is two beings, and we are in a binary universe. That means that everything else created in existence is either male or female, and even if there are anomalies of this case, it doesn't change the fact that those energies are present within everything itself. Everything. Organisms, plants, things, all that. That's how that works. Even on our planet, it takes a male plant and a female plant to make the plants pollinate. That's what I'm trying to say. So in the it's still, they still have male and female parts. Have you done fucking like plant science?
that is a thing.
That is a fucking thing. There are still male and female
Okay.
parts. It doesn't have to be separated down to a dick and
But-
fucking pussy.
Okay, but
Right.
So we're getting there, right? We're getting there. Now back. Let me pull it back.
But that's
In
just
general,
sex.
I'm saying on a cosmic level, the planets have an energy. So the sun is a masculine energy. The moon is a feminine energy. That's it. I don't know how else to explain it. That's all I'm trying to tell you.
How do we know that?
No, but
Who discovered it?
So
it's the same thing about the 12, the universal laws. How else do we not?
it's sorcery. That's what it is.
It's sorcery. It's alchemy.
This is why I try
That's
to
why I
explain to other
asked.
sorcerers that you need to understand your human preconceptions.
I don't
That's the
know.
reason.
That it's no.
All
I
of
mean,
this
I'm telling
shit
you that,
is
that this.
very-
Listen, whether you want to say it's a belief or not, this is something that's coming from within for me.
It
Is-
is.
and no, but
your
I'm telling you
perceptions are
that no, but then
coloring that
I no,
reality.
but I've literally found information that says that it's true.
But it doesn't
Regardless,
make it true.
so does everything else. What's telling you that your thing is more true than my thing?
Because I've broken down the concepts for several years.
So where?
In my
Where?
brain.
Yeah, in your brain. So
And that's
now
the
we're
thing.
just two people with different opinions.
Exactly.
That's all it is.
And I would
It doesn't
like
matter.
to clarify to anyone listening that everyone's opinions on this shit are pretty equally valid.
Okay,
Even if
can I
say
explain?
you're full of shit.
Can I explain
But-
why? Can I explain why that
You're good.
this has made sense? Is because to work with these energies, this is. I'm saying it wouldn't work if they weren't masculine or they weren't feminine. You couldn't make something else if it wasn't.
I guess.
Do you see what I'm
I
saying?
guess the question is
Like-
why it doesn't need to be masculine.
No, it's not that it needs to be. It just is. That's what I'm saying. I feel like
How do we know that it
concept of being.
But how do we know what that even is?
Dude, okay, I'm gonna find the fucking research for you because I don't need you to believe this, but I want you to understand it because it's stupid for me to even have to explain it
it's
because
I know what you're talking about. But the thing is, I've been there and I've passed that already.
well, that's
Because
fine
I
if you can
discovered
believe
that
something
that shit
differently.
is
Fine.
Is a result
Hey, yo.
of
I don't
of-
believe that
of
though.
delusion.
I don't believe that.
Oh, no,
I don't.
this one.
Like, let me.
Can you look it up because this is getting. Give me your fucking phone. You guys can't fucking look
I
at
had gone to. I found it, but
No, you didn't.
I found a LinkedIn page
Stupid
that
as fuck.
saying basically the same thing you were, but
Because we're talking about inherent.
and they're
And inherent is not whether you believe it or
inherent
not.
is foundational.
It's foundation.
It is and,
Okay, shush.
and that
Gender
that's-
is not foundational.
gender is not.
It
foundational.
is. Can you hush for a
Because gender
minute? Can you
is
hush for a
a
minute?
role that you
Hush.
play. It's a characteristic.
No, you think that.
No, that's literally what the fucking
Okay,
definition of it
it doesn't
is.
fucking matter. They were using the wrong fucking word then. Can you relax? Why are you shouting? That's why I don't understand why people have to get so fucking pissed off about the stupidest fucking concept in the entire fucking world. It doesn't fucking matter.
So
It doesn't.
I think it's just we just all get a little excited.
No, he gets fucking upset and it pisses me off. Like he genuinely gets upset. Like I don't know. Maybe I've done more research on this and explained it. Like it's gone like but literally the moon and the sun give off different energies, polaring energies. One energy is masculine, one energy is feminine. You need both. That's what I'm trying to say. You have that energy present within you. This isn't something that I came up with. This isn't something that somebody else came up with.
This is something tons of people
Like-
have said over and over. I know it's been in witchcraft and sorcery circles for thousands of years.
No, but I
probably at
mean,
this
there's
point.
like
And that
like
shit
astrological
is
stuff to it.
superstition.
Like how? That's no.
The energies of the universe are positive.
No, but they were
negative,
literally
and
explaining
neutral.
it like they're.
And these
I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna
concepts to
fucking.
explain
I don't think I'm gonna get it through to you
positive,
guys.
Negative and neutral.
I don't think you guys are gonna get it.
Like, but that's when we were looking at inherent and foundational truths. We have to break them down to their core components because that's how the cosmic reality functions. Is on its core components. It doesn't have concepts of gender or things of those nature.
Okay, but then I think
because it's a
the
balancing
problem that's
equation
happening here
of
is
positive
you're
and negative.
confusing
And then
the idea of
humans-
gender with what we're explaining.
That's
Because
the opposite.
no.
Like, hold on, no, just let me finish. Like,
Fucking
these
Christ,
ideas
dude.
of positive and negative, people then feel very strongly with the surrounding imagery.
I know they
and
do,
things.
but that's what I'm
And
saying.
that's
The universe
where-
doesn't
that's-
fucking care.
That's where witchcraft and sorcery came up with these concepts. Is because they misunderstood the basic component and
know, I
allowed
don't.
their imagination to fill in the gaps because it was information beyond their comprehension at the time. And they
Okay,
created
look, read
concepts.
this one. This was what I'm trying to fucking say. Like they're it's
Right,
literally
yes.
like a makeup.
These are literally concepts to explain positive and negative.
I don't know.
And,
I don't know.
like,
I don't fucking believe it the way you
I
guys
know
do.
what you're
I
talking
don't.
about,
I
but
can
it's
believe it completely in a
like,
different way, and I don't understand
this
that.
This is an outdated way of thinking.
I don't think so.
Like-
I really don't.
But like, yeah, I
We're just we have completely different opinions at that point,
There's-
and it doesn't matter.
That is one of those things that happens, yeah, and everyone's allowed to their different opinions. Well, I'm telling you, this is definitely an older way of thinking about a very real concept because it was beyond their grasp at the time, and they didn't have the necessary.
I don't know. Even then, like I don't know.
Because like this shit came.
Because if
out-
you're trying to say breaking it down to positive and negative, then it sounds like you're just simplifying the explanation of positive means that it's masculine and negative means that it's feminine,
Well, that's
and then
really
we're
how he
giving.
now says it is.
Can you
That's
stop? Can you stop? You're interrupting me.
I'm sorry.
Both of you, relax
Sorry,
for a
yeah,
second. Relax. I'm saying that at that example, it means that we've given a connotation behind these things, saying that one has to be positive, one has to be negative. But again, I'm saying that I think we're grossly simplifying it and making it not the way that it actually is. That there isn't a positive or negative in that way. And that masculine energy and feminine energy are just a thing, period, and it has nothing to do with the human concept. That we experience those things from a human perspective, and that we've tried to explain those things, but again, so does every other thing in the entire universe as well. And that is the universe made up of man and woman? Only. No. But there are examples of things that are male and female across the entire universe, period. So there is that's what I'm saying. How do you define the cosmic can you stop? How do you define the cosmic example of these things? The cosmic example would mean there would be an inherent male masculine energy and an inherent female energy, and what this is trying to explain to you is that the nature of these things comes down to even knowledge concepts like intuitiveness comes from a more feminine side, and that that's what I'm saying. Like it's I'm so on the other side of it that I don't even know how to explain it to you if you're not understanding it. That's what, and so I could give you an image and I could go through it. I could do a bunch of research and then give you all the research, but I don't think you guys are going to understand it because you guys have a completely different understanding of your version of it.
Different.
You know what I mean?
So I had an explanation just
the way that it's explained to me is that if we were birthed out by consciousness, then I think it's almost silly that we have tried to simplify it into being that it's one being. What if it was never one being? What if it was two beings? What if there is a mother and a father, and maybe it doesn't even need to look at it like that. That's what I mean. It's like it doesn't like I think on a spiritual level, I think we even like grossly forget how spiritual we really are on the idea of how birth even happens. And that maybe there are different examples of how that can happen for other beings, but we're not talking about other fucking beings. Like we're like even to like on a spiritual level too. Like it gets to a completely different level. I understand that, but it's like it just is. There just is a masculine energy and there is a feminine energy. That's it. So I don't know why you're saying that there's not.
So
I don't understand that. Because now you're saying it's negative and positive.
Right.
But it doesn't change. Like, it doesn't.
When we're getting.
I think that they're two different things.
So.
That's what I'm saying. There is a negative and positive, sure. If you perceive it to be negative and positive. But there's also a masculine and feminine energy present within every single one of us. And the universe as a whole.
Well, how do you determine if something's masculine and something's feminine?
Well, and that's what I'm trying to say. They break it down and they explain it. Right. In that example. I can't just give it to you.
And how people perceive it. And this is where I'm talking, like, when we're looking at a fundamental truth of reality, we have to render it down to its component parts.
Okay, listen.
Basics.
I understand that. We're past that. Right, I'm saying that I think that even if we're trying to explain that, it doesn't change the fact that it's still there. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
But it's there because
as an energy,
because of the human
and element. I don't believe that. Not in that way. Not in the way that you're saying it. Like, I don't believe that.
If an animal were to use its limited ability to perceive strongly enough to do something, it wouldn't necessarily use that same type of energy.
But we're not. But you're under the So now I think we're getting to a better example. Can I say now? I think we're getting to a better example. You're saying that because of the way I'm explaining this, that an animal has to follow this. That's also not true. That's not what I believe.
That's not quite what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the concept of masculinity and femininity is a configuration.
No. That is from a human's concept, but I'm not talking about that.
Hold on, you're misunderstanding me. I'm talking about the literal particles of energy you would utilize in an effect.
Yeah.
Right? Let's say you're doing an effect that requires a certain level of masculine and a certain level of feminine. This is a composition of positive and negative particles in a specific... Think of the masculine and feminine as the molecule, and the positive and negative is like... fucking elementary particle shits. Like, I'm talking gluons, muons, that shit. Right? That's where I'm talking. This is a more fundamental concept than this. Molecules are a much less fundamental aspect of reality than a muon, gluon, or boson. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, now I don't even know where you're fucking going with this.
See, this is why particle physics is very important.
Listen.
Quantum field mechanics.
I feel like we're bringing in things from science that is mucking up what I'm trying to say. Can I say it again? And let's just see if you get it. I have another way of explaining.
Science is clarifying.
Okay, but if I'm sorry, but the rest of us didn't fucking go do particle physics.
I think in general,
I got another way to explain this.
Okay, well,
I got another way to explain this.
All right.
I'm saying that there is a cosmic version of an understanding that explains that there is a masculine and feminine energy that is present within the universe, period. And then there is a human version of that that explains that, because of this whole fucking stupid whole thing that we get all mucked up into because of our perception, because of our perceiving of reality, because of even in this whole concept that you guys keep going to, that everybody keeps going into nowadays, on this whole, well, the man doesn't necessarily have to be the head of the household. It's like, that's not what we're fucking talking about. That's not what I'm talking about.
I totally see
And
that.
on an animal level, if you want to go to an animal level, the animals don't even fucking perceive reality the way that you think they do.
No, they have
So they're
limited
not going to
perception.
be in that way. But I'm saying that there is a primal version of the core aspect of a masculine and a feminine energy that I'm trying to explain to you on a cosmic level. And the way that it's been explained to me is the sun is inherently a masculine energy, and that it produces masculine energy. The energy that comes off the sun is masculine. You take that in solarly as a masculine energy. The moon gives you a feminine energy. And so to work with those energies, you are understanding that you're working with the masculine side of you that's receiving that energy and perceiving that energy. And to work with the moon, you're working with a feminine energy, the light and the shadow. That's what I'm trying to say.
See,
so whether
thing
you
I
get
think
into
with
a
this-
negative or positive
yeah,
doesn't
this is-
change the fact that they are still core examples of the fact that there is a universal definition of this.
The most I could give is that if I was given any type of cadence, that these energies do exist, but they're not gendered. They're just these type of energies.
Well, okay, fine. It's
So
beyond gender.
that's
But
what-
I'm
yeah,
still
that's what I'm
telling you,
trying to
then
get at.
we have to redefine
like-
what masculine and feminine means then.
That's what we're.
If that's what you guys are getting caught up on.
So, but that's the thing, is that these things ultimately have nothing to do with that. Like,
Okay, so then you're just getting caught up on one word.
Well, yeah, because that's
Because
what
it was
it's
on
not
that
about-
image.
because it's
Because it
not
was
a
on
fact.
that image.
well,
I moved on from that like 20 minutes ago.
Well, they can't. Well,
I moved on from gender a minute ago.
No.
No,
I did.
Study
No,
on
because
it.
you were also saying like that how masculine is male.
don't know.
Sort
I feel
of,
like
yes.
we're losing-
Mostly masculine means male. That's
Right,
what,
right.
I don't know how else to explain that.
But all I
It doesn't
am
mean that
saying
you can't
is
I'm saying that,
it's
okay,
not a foundational cosmic concept.
so stop.
That's all
It's
saying.
fine. That's fine. It doesn't change the fact that I'm just trying to explain what I'm trying to explain.
No, I do get what you're saying.
You brought up something that's kind of interesting, and that also doesn't make any sense. I'm gonna explain that again. I already went through this. Every single being in existence has the masculine and feminine energy present within it. It doesn't matter if it's a male or female.
Right,
it still has that energy within it.
Because these are based on specific
And so I'm
concepts.
saying on a cosmic sense, and what I meant by that is a planetary example, there is a constellation or a physical body in a planet sense that has that energy within it. And I was using the most basic example of that is the sun is a masculine energy. It produces light. The moon is a feminine energy. Maybe it produces light in a different way, and we want to fucking argue that the light from the moon is also the light from the fucking sun. It doesn't change the fact that these are examples that were explained,
Right.
and
But you
fine,
wanna
maybe
know why
it comes from a
the
human
light
perspective.
But yeah,
It doesn't.
and
cha-
that's what I'm trying.
It's again
trying
like
to
okay.
assert.
So hold.
Because
Can,
the reason. Hold on, let me just please get this one out.
I
Because
know
the
what your
reason
fucking
the
reason
light reflected from the sun
God damn it, dude.
is giving you different energy compositions is because of your own human consciousness and perceptions. It's not a foundational source. It is from your human source. Like that's what I've been trying to assert like this entire time.
no, I hear what you're saying, and I don't believe it, and I don't. It's not just that I don't believe it. I
Okay.
don't
Well,
feel it.
In this case,
I've
I
said
guess-
that the entire time.
Well,
Not only do I not believe
Well,
it,
yeah.
I don't feel it.
Yeah, I don't know.
This goes
we both
beyond
disagree.
information. This goes beyond something that I can give to you on the phone or some piece of information. This is something that I feel. That's why I'm so
Well,
strongly about it.
then-
I've said
I mean,
that.
but that's yeah, that's one of those things, and this is why we all get very because we all feel like feel this shit, you know. That's a big part of the equation. I totally get that, and I totally understand. That's why we all get excited. when we're talking about this shit, and especially when we have differing viewpoints. And
I guess another thing that I'm trying to say is that the science
backed up with observation.
Yeah, and I get that, and I have observation. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's what I'm saying. Like, so, what more is science gonna say? That are they gonna fucking take core samples and be like, the dust says that this is not male? Like,
Well,
you know what I mean? Like, what? Where are you gonna get your basis?
Well, it's going to be from a more foundational source.
Anthropology.
It's going to be the elementary particles.
And again, and that I feel again
in a rational and
what I'm trying to explain.
Because
Listen. I know what you're saying, and you just keep repeating it. That's why I keep stopping you.
Yeah,
I've heard you say it over and over again.
It's just like
I know what you're saying, and what I'm trying to say is that the problem I feel like we have as humans is that we explain something away with science that I feel like we are trying to have a basis for that can't be explained with science. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It is something that is like esoteric. Listen. I'm trying to say that this is something that is inherently esoteric, that is beyond something that we can study with science. Currently, yeah, sure.
But that's the thing, like, and that's why I have an opposite frame on this.
Like this is something that we wouldn't have. There would be no basis. There would be
because it exists. There is a basis, though. We just don't have comprehension for it.
Okay, fine. Even if you get to that point, right now, in our everyday life, we don't have a way to prove that.
Not yet, right? And that's doesn't mean we can't later.
Exist,
and that's why science is the most important mode for getting here.
This is why I have this belief. Somebody said a long time ago in some of this esoteric stuff that science and nature and esoteric and all this are all one and the same, and that we are basically kind of being stupid in a simpler way to say that, by trying to use science to explain these things. And the way it's been explained to me is that there aren't words.
Yeah.
I mean period. That it's a concept that we could not explain in that way.
How do we even have?
But then we can't learn it.
No. You're okay. So that's what I'm saying. The program of the human mind from society is that we have to have this to equal this, but that is not always the case. There are things that you can find through the way that I've done things.
But how do you even gather that?
I'm not done, and I'm trying to explain it. I'm trying to get to that point.
But how do you even gather that?
I'm gonna give you the answer.
Okay. Fair enough.
You can still learn and you can still experience things that aren't tied to what you perceive reality in the way that you perceive it. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can have an experience. Okay, I'm going to give another example that a lot of people have a problem with is ghosts. How do we give any, and we all have different opinions of that, but let's just say for the sake of argument, the ghosts are people that died, and they are the person here. And even though my understanding has also changed a little bit on the way that ghosts understand, let's just say for argument example again, the ghosts are souls that have unfinished business here, and so cannot move on to the other side, regardless of what that means.
Right.
There's no way to, but even then.
But you could.
I mean, they do.
Supernatural. They'll now be part of the natural.
Okay,
Right.
Regardless, I'm trying to say that we don't have a way to explain spirits.
Yeah.
We don't have a way to explain that.
And that's why you would need to then follow the scientific method and create a hypothesis for what you think.
I think we've hit a wall because you are very, very rooted in science, and I use science as
is the vehicle.
No, I understand that. I do. I get that.
It's wild.
But I'm saying that I am beyond science, because science is only like a fraction of something that we are never going to understand from science. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Like, not when you don't have anything to hold a little bit of disbelief in it, because you could walk down a wrong road.
There is, but that I'm coming from a point of view that there is no wrong road.
But that's the thing. I guarantee there
is no wrong road.
There has to be.
Listen. This is now we're getting to the meat and butter, like what me and him. So time out. This is where now we're getting into a better place of understanding, and so I think I can say something that helps with this. By the way, I'm
enjoying our talk.
Fine. What I think is really interesting is that Fuck, what were you saying? You're saying that...
Shit, yeah, kind of.
Fuck.
Hold on.
No, you know.
Stop.
Hold on, let's try to regain the train of thought. Oh god.
You're saying that science...
Oh, is the vehicle
Yes, I know that.
necessary to because you're using a repeatable series
Yes.
of observations.
So let's say
really
for the sake of argument that I'm using what you're saying, but I don't have the same way that you're saying it. So I have done things within my own mind, within my own conscious, my own thinking process to repeat these processes, and I find these things to be true. But there is no basis for it. Not a basis in the way that you understand basis. That's what I'm trying to say.
Then that would be personal. That wouldn't be inherent.
There, at some point
There are things that I'm telling you that
testing,
yes, I. Okay.
Everything
Now
has a basis.
I think where we're getting it. I already told you that these is something that is my opinion. That's my belief.
No,
even if he gets caught up with this every time. Just because I say it's an inherent truth doesn't mean that it is.
No, that really defeats the entire reason of what inherent truth is.
It doesn't matter though. Anybody could say that.
I know this is a tough one where it comes down to like, well, we all have what we believe is an inherent truth, whether or not that is correct.
That's why there is no inherent truth.
But
That's why
it doesn't matter whether you think that or not because that's still your own opinion and you have your own free will. But I can still tell you what I believe is an inherent truth.
That is a good point, yeah. But
that doesn't make it
you
so.
can't assert it as a
and
fundamental
it doesn't
truth.
matter.
But then why are you even saying that?
Because I can, and because I believe it.
Because if it's inherent truth for you,
yes,
then that's fine.
Yeah.
But then, I guess if that's inherent for you, then that's fine.
I say it every fucking time. I don't know why this is a problem.
But it's just because how words work.
It's like when he hears inherent truth, he thinks he has to believe it, and that it's the only truth.
No, because inherent. That's conveying.
It is a fundamental underpinning,
and I believe that. And I believe that. And I believe that.
Okay, and that's good for you. And when you're conveying that,
yes. And why would I convey it to anybody else as anything different?
Okay, but so that
but at the same time.
Why would I?
Because the reason why you would say that would to convince
to make it easier for you, to make you feel better.
No.
Do you see what I'm saying? No. I'm gonna stop you. I'm gonna stop you.
I don't know.
I'm gonna stop you. Because this is what I'm trying to say. You're basically saying that you feel like because there's no validity to what I'm saying, that I'm basically hurting other people because I'm leading them down a path to have to either A, believe what I'm saying or not believe what I'm saying, and because I don't say that then it's like, dude, like none of that is true. You are creating. No, I'm not done. You are creating concepts within your own head that are what we were trying to get to earlier. That is giving people power over you. That are basically you're saying that because I say it's true, then that must mean that it is. But the point of it all in the first place is that it's not true if you don't believe that. It again, if gravity's an inherent truth, then it doesn't matter what I have to fucking say because I'm gonna use that fucking word because I believe that. I don't need to. We don't need to get caught up on the word.
I run into this issue a lot in this because there's words.
I'm not gonna do this to cater to other people.
Yeah, but the thing is, words that have very particular meanings then carry a certain necessity for weight behind it.
Okay, fine, but again, that's you're using that definition, saying that that's something that you then have to believe. I never said you had to believe this.
Right, no, that's fair, and you didn't.
No,
but
never.
You are asserting it as your position.
Yeah, and it's still my position.
You have to be able to defend it.
There doesn't need to be a defense. That's what I'm trying to say because
it's not a debate.
What would be the concept of you even talk? Is it just for your own?
I literally have gone through this every fucking time. I say this every fucking time.
But and
I say it every time. I don't know why I have to repeat myself.
Okay.
Every single time I say this. If I'm sharing a piece of information with you, it is just for the conversation.
Right.
That's it. I don't know why it has to even be stated that way. That's the problem with society, is that unless somebody, does this, then it's oh no.
Well,
it's
I
like,
think,
you know,
how do we even condone what's going on? That's how we condone what's going on.
This is where it comes back to another core thing in people and just, what's the word? Collaborating information. And then, even if you're not really trying to figure like who's right, who's wrong, when you're discussing critical information like this, both sides then have to like stress test it. Man, my words are really failing me
But
right
again, there's no inkling that this has to be true.
Well, then I
And no,
say
I'm not. I'm
your
not
truth.
done. I'm not done. I'm not done.
Okay.
You keep interrupting me.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
not done. I'm telling you that I don't need to say that. Even if we,
don't have
no, I don't. I don't feel like I need to, because that's part of the problem that I have with the entire thing, and it's, well, I don't need to state my superstition of my position because we all are under that same pretenses. I don't need to remind you of this. Do you get what I'm saying? There's nothing more that I'm going to do that's going to change what is or who you already, right?
Yeah.
That's the concept of this that bothers me is that it's almost as if, because of the way that I share information, it's if you believe that you either have to believe what I'm saying is true, or that you would assimilate it as new truth, and that you would need to know that it's true because then you wouldn't want to assimilate it if it's not true.
Information.
Yeah, but that's not what we're fucking doing. And even if I don't need to state that, because I'm just telling you something that is a piece of information that I have found within myself. Even if I had no sources, if I said this is all just my fucking head, it's still something I'm just sharing. It's still just a conversation. It doesn't matter the validity of any of it. There doesn't
That's
need
fair.
to be anything more there.
I feel that. But understand that we are then going to strongly assert different opinions.
And that I don't care.
But that's also why this shit's fun for all of us.
Yeah.
That's
So
the
I
point.
would
It
like
doesn't
to-
matter. None of
so
that
like-
matters.
like, we're all good. We're all kosher here. I would like to clarify.
It just
We're all
keeps. It's
good.
interesting to me that you keep coming at a point like I'm basically trying to convince you otherwise.
No, but I'm saying words have actions and consequences, right? You literally believe that.
Okay, so what? Yeah, and you could believe you're the fucking tooth fairy. It wouldn't matter, right?
Ultimately, no, because there's no inherent meaning.
Because you believe that.
Okay, yeah.
You see,
No,
right?
I'm
You see,
like-
because you believe
I
that.
don't know. I'm missing a spot here, but essentially what's happening is we're having,
I'm telling
when
you
have
that.
two
Listen, I'm
positions that are
gonna.
different. They're both gonna start
No,
against each other.
I'm gonna.
That's just how it is.
Not even.
That
Not
is
even
how it
that.
is.
Not even that. I'm gonna explain what's happening because I explained this to him earlier. When we have these conversations, he gets caught up in this idea that there is an intent behind the conversation. The intent being that I'm trying to convince you of the information otherwise. And I know this because I've asked you several times. So what I find is that you believe, before we even start the conversation, that the intent behind me sharing this information with you is for you to believe it. That no, but he's confirmed.
I think
he's
it's-
confirmed.
I
He's
think you're
confirmed
close.
this.
No, but when we're having conversations like this, it seems like.
But I've already
it's-
told
it's
you.
the style.
Yes.
It's the style of if we were debating if it was.
And I did
true
already tell you
or
that it's
not.
still just a conversation.
Okay.
Right, right.
So it
that's
doesn't
totally
matter if we're
understandable.
debating if it's true or not.
But-
if it's still just a conversation.
Yeah.
Right.
The intent that you're assuming is not there. You're putting that intent there.
I think there's a little bit of another adjacency here, because it's like, it's not so much that you have the intent to change our minds, but when people converse things like this,
Yeah.
and you assert a position, I mean, because
Because another person can
I
listen
wouldn't
to
mind,
it.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind, like, when I believe something, and even though my intent isn't to force you into my opinion or make you,
Yeah.
adopt
Yeah.
my opinion,
Yeah.
if I share that opinion with you,
Yeah.
because I believe it's an accurate piece of information,
Yeah.
I would hope you would adopt it.
And I don't have that.
And that's like,
I don't have that. I told him this earlier. I don't
like,
have that.
'cause
I don't
even
care
if I'm
what
not
you do with it.
trying to change your mind, like on a
Yeah.
like you have to hear this, blah, because
Yeah,
you need
yeah.
to like
Yeah, exactly.
adopt
That's
it.
what I
Yeah.
see.
Even if
That's
you're
what I
not
told him.
doing that,
Yeah.
when you share a piece of information in the coreest part of you,
Yeah.
on an instinctual level, if
Yeah.
you believe the information to be accurate,
You want other people to believe
you
it.
want other people,
And I
to
don't
believe
have
it.
that.
That
I don't.
seems very odd.
I don't.
Yeah, that's a very odd.
Because I know for sure that I do.
I don't.
Because and
I just don't.
That's
I-
not
period.
a bad thing. Like,
I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
It's not a bad
I'm not
thing.
saying it's a bad thing. I'm
but
just
it's
telling
like-
you
we're just
that
saying,
you're getting yourself caught up in knots here, and I say it like that because that's the way it feels. You're getting yourself upset and flustered over something because you think that I'm trying to get you to believe something, but you don't want to believe it because I'm not giving you more.
I know. Well, I think we also do just seem to hit some kind of wall at some point, and I think.
But even if we were hitting a wall, I don't have these issues with other people.
Right, what
That's what
is-
I'm trying to say.
well-
We can have the same exact conversation. I could talk about the same exact thing, and somebody else seems to understand in a different way and just allows the information to be shared.
Right.
There is no
Because-
point.
Maybe because they don't have strong opinions.
No, but they
on the
use sometimes they
information.
usually do,
Oh,
and they'll
that's-
give me the opposite opinion.
know.
What I'm saying is, I'm saying that I notice that, and I explain it again. I'll explain it one more time. Is that the underlying thing below the conversation is that you think something that I don't, that I'm not doing, that you believe that I'm trying to get you to believe my point. But that's not the case.
Well, also maybe
It's not the
maybe
case.
It's just a trigger in our brains because
Yeah.
you're using words like inherit.
Well, but even then, it doesn't matter. Like so now we're gonna break down even further. You ready? This is where it gets to the meat and butt of it. The point.
we have conversations.
I know we're almost done. We can be almost done.
Cool, because I like
The point of the entire conversation, the way that I say these things, is because it's meant to break down your initial concepts of how this work.
Okay.
I'm doing this on purpose.
Okay, I know. Okay.
Maybe I'm not necessarily consciously
so-
aware of it.
Okay, so you're doing it on purpose.
But I'm doing it on
so-
purpose.
So then you're having an intent of your conversation.
Not for you to believe it.
But what? Just to make us.
I just think. Yeah.
What did this is what someone I'm gonna can you
You know, gets the brain.
what did okay
Yeah, get really
when I was younger,
you know.
I had met
No,
older
I get
people that had done this for me, and so I'm doing the only same thing that the idea here is that you, in my belief, have been programmed just like everybody else
Oh, everyone.
to believe
Everyone's
something.
been programmed.
Everyone's
Yeah.
been programmed. We know this.
Cultural conditioning.
Please
I
stop
get it.
interrupting
I'm
me.
sorry.
I can't get to what I'm saying if you keep interrupting me. I'm saying that I thought of a way to structure a conversation to give somebody information because it's meant to make you think outside the box, outside of that box that you find yourself within. The only way to do that is to say something that completely breaks down your entire concept of reality. That's my belief. That's where I'm sitting at from it.
Okay, yeah, we've had this discussion. I remember
Yes.
this discussion now.
So the point of it is that it, and I know I get all weird about it, but honestly, I would be kind of weird if you didn't get upset. And the
Right,
reason that
because we get the core-
the reason
core
why people
concepts.
don't get upset most of the time is because they are less programmed in that way. So what I'm doing then is I'm systematically giving people their free will back, and I say it that way because I'm giving you your bias back. I'm giving you the place in a superposition sense to allow yourself to say or believe whatever it is that you say or believe without bias.
I guess this is where
That's what it comes down to.
I think I found the problem. You're influencing them, which would mean you would have some power over them, but then you also say that
No
we
more
have
power than you do over me.
This
Again,
is
it's a
like-
superposition of your position in this
I
reality,
don't know, I
in
might
the
be
universe.
missing something, but
I don't know.
like
He keeps thinking that I'm manipulating him.
Well, not necessarily.
In a way.
I was just saying,
Well,
everyone
that's literally what you
influences
say.
everybody.
That's literally like your.
And
well,
there's no
yeah.
difference than anybody else.
No, you're trying to
well,
say,
that's
you're
but that's
trying to
part of
have,
that
like,
intent I
you're
was
trying to
talking about,
have-
like, or not intent, but that whole thing deep down where we all, when we share a piece of information,
Right.
we believe is accurate, we
Right.
believe the other person. We would
But
like
again,
them
I'm not trying to
adopt
get you to believe this stuff.
it. Right. But like this is the difference between like a. God, fuck. How do
I guess if
describe
you were
it? This
just
shit
wanting
gets hard to
say,
describe.
I guess, and maybe this is. I think the
It's
true
not a bad
essence
thing.
of it is that not necessarily the conversations per se. I think we've gone past that. I think this is something that maybe we just had to overcome in general. Is that you're just at an impasse where you're like, I'm not going to explain what type of conversation we're having. I'm just going to have it with you, and it's your responsibility to take it however you want to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it
I
always
think I
is.
broke it.
Because
Right,
it's
okay,
always
yeah,
has been.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Most people don't come to that position because people usually, especially in this type of setting, social setting, would have to have the parameters of like, so we're just gonna have this type of conversation, break down the facts of what it is and our own personal thoughts. You know, that would be like.
But we've already gone through
Yeah,
that.
I mean, we are doing that, but
we
you're
have
also
even
coming
before we
from,
started
like,
the
a different-
conversation. We've done that
Yeah.
already many times.
Yes.
Do you get what I mean? Like I
Yeah,
don't know why we even have to do that.
But I don't know what I'm like there, but then I say that, and then I'm like, fuck up the entire. I don't know. It's essentially what I'm trying to say is that, but your intention is to awaken other people.
Yeah. But okay,
then-
but I'll try to explain it
Which
now.
would
No,
be
here
an
I'll stop you.
attention over someone because then why
Okay,
why
okay.
would you do that if someone didn't have if someone has their own free will?
Can I explain it?
You know what I mean?
I have a way to explain this real quick. So,
because I think I do.
if there's a if I'm gonna explain it like this: if you were programmed, then either someone else or I came up with this concept that there's a way that you could do this to where if it works, it doesn't. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And in this way, you can say something without bias that if you were programmed, then it would deprogram you, and if you weren't programmed, then it wouldn't matter. Do you get what I'm trying to say? That it's only even maybe fucking you up more that I have to explain it. But you want to understand this.
Well, yeah, because that's
I honestly,
fortunately or unfortunately,
I'm remembering
that's
our
how
past
we,
conversation more.
Yeah,
He's remember. He gets
me and
it.
David, that's how we break down our like.
And I think
understanding.
I think I see the crux of all this. So like, because I know what you mean. You're trying to awaken, and the idea is like. It's
But
like,
how do you do that without infringing?
Well,
But you
would
can't
have to.
you can't ever
You would
infringe.
have to
No, but you can't. That's what I'm trying to explain to you.
This is where the
Period.
idea of what do you consider necessarily an infringement? Because the idea is you got to poke them with the stick, right?
Yeah.
That's not necessarily a bad thing or an infringement, but it's an interaction,
Yeah.
right? The thing is like,
But he's
by
coming
getting
from a
us-
perspective that you can be infringed upon. You can't. That's what I'm saying. It's still always your choice.
Because I'm also coming from a belief that we don't necessarily.
He
have
doesn't
free
believe
will
that. He doesn't believe in free
in
will.
that way.
He doesn't
I
believe
don't-
he has free will.
I don't know necessarily that I do have free will or inherent meaning.
Oh, free will.
You
and
see what I'm
shit
saying?
is
He doesn't
is a
believe that.
whole fucking beast that would probably take me.
Because
a
essentially,
minute to
even
read.
though I believe in,
He doesn't have time.
Even though I am part of the chaos magician, being a chaos, magic believer, essentially, I also, and even chaos magic itself can go into philosophy.
So if you don't-
and philosophies and into nihilism, I'm a big nihilist.
If you don't have free will, then who makes your decisions?
A series of electrical.
No, him.
I guarantee you, a series of electrical and chemical
essentially, that's
responses.
how I would explain
Yeah.
it. Essentially,
This
that's
is how a lot of people.
But who makes
function.
that?
Like, there's like
It's
because
just
we
a
don't know
series
because.
of
Because we don't
chemicals.
know.
See,
if
and
the
I don't believe
because
that.
we
That's
don't
where
know
I
if
go into the
consciousness
esoteric
is
level.
one or if it's just multiple. I
Right.
don't have
I don't
the
believe-
science.
I don't believe that way
this
you
is-
guys
this
do.
Is, this
I
is
don't.
where my
'Cause-
concept of the various
But
stages
we
of,
could
of
also
self come
inherently
into play.
we
Like,
could be wrong. But even if that was true, here how I even break down my nihilism, how I understand it. There could still be a God within a nihilistic universe.
100%.
Just because there's existence of a God does not mean that there's an inherent meaning.
right.
Okay, but there
Just means
doesn't.
that there's just like ghosts. We call them supernatural now, but once we prove them in a scientific method, or however, maybe there's something
Yeah, it's
beyond
just part of
scientific
the
method
natural order
that's like
at
a
that
new
point.
method.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe we do have to think outside the box a little bit. Regardless, it would now be part of the natural
Yeah.
world.
Eventually,
That's
there's
how-
something discernible, testable.
But that
and
does not
examinable.
mean that there is inherent meaning inside the universe. It's just
Right.
something that we just found out within the universe. Because it's part of the discovery.
But why does there have to be a meaning?
Right, there doesn't.
Exactly.
That's what we're trying.
That's
That's
exactly
what
what
our
we're
assertion
saying.
Is it like because like then this comes and this is where like definitions of things and concepts come into play a little bit and how you because like an inherent meaning in the universe is like some greater purpose for everything that's happening.
Yeah.
And there's just no need for that because it's a causal.
is.
It's a
Well, but
causal
even if
loop
it
universe.
even if it just is, it also doesn't change the fact that you could all the stuff I'm saying could still be true.
Essentially,
Right,
yeah,
right,
yeah,
right.
I agree.
But and then this is one of the things I wanted to get at, and where I think a lot of the crux of the issue is because like you're trying to get people to think critically about their core fundamental beliefs because that shit's fun and it's a good time. We all enjoy it. But the thing is, we will assert information and data,
Yeah.
and then we kind of hit a wall
Yeah.
where like you don't add additional. We kind of end
Yeah.
up in a little bit of a loop,
Yeah.
and I will add data,
Yeah.
but you just won't really have anything back.
Yeah.
Like, but I think
And that's
I
fine.
think it really is. But
It's
I
just
think,
a conversation.
I think that's why we get. I think that's where the excitation comes from, because like it's like trying to add information, but then not really getting a return, and it's like But like stuff like this, I don't know, it's just fucking cool. And you know, if you know, reality has like some inherent meaning or whatever, it's I don't know. But
know,
like
people-
inherent, rules and stuff, it can be it's dry, it's clinical. And like I think that's just it's the best way to go into looking for the truth and looking for, cosmic reality is to maintain dry and clinical standards to things.
The closing thing that I will say, because we're trying to wrap it up here,
Yeah, we really
is
should,
I will
yeah.
say that in general, the way that I understand it is that there are things that we grossly simplify, that we have no real basis for it, maybe other than within our own minds, to explain on how these things work. And I think that from the scientific perspective, I don't think we can get there. And I don't know if I believe that we ever will. The reason I say that is because these things are not within reality. So they're not something you can explain with reality. So there would never be a basis because these things exist out of reality. Because we exist out of reality. That's why so my understanding of how this works is that we are only a small piece housed within this vessel. The body is a vessel.
Right.
And so the idea of that meaning is that there is influences coming from outside of that, outside of our reality, and we're just calling reality the observable universe that we live in. But our bodies, or our souls rather, exist outside of that
Right. And see, I don't know.
in an internal sense.
This is where, like,
You know,
certain things, because, like, you know, like, reality
yeah,
will ultimately be anything that exists.
yeah.
Like,
Well, but when I say reality, I'm saying the observable universe.
oh, okay.
So the observable universe.
Reality,
So if you let's say it's a bubble, right? We're in a bubble. This is everything within that reality. Well, the multiverse exists outside of that bubble.
Right.
There are multiple bubbles,
Right.
but then there's also something above that bubble, and those bubbles. I'm saying that if I understand what's been explained to me on how the soul works, then your soul is outside of all of that too.
Huh.
Period.
You know, I've never come to that concept, but that would kind of, because, like...
That's how that works.
Because, you know, I've had this model of the multiverse
Yeah.
forever now that's basically, I mean, if you look at, like, a GAN, like,
Yeah.
you know, like when, like, a cell starts and you got all the
Yeah.
little, little bumps and stuff, like, that's your little multiversal superstructure that exists within its own little giant ball.
Yeah.
Right? And then outside of that, you essentially have just a shitload of raw energy. Right? And then if a god exists, I assume it exists in that space.
Yeah.
But
So
like,
this is something that to end on, right? That kind of fuck with everybody's minds.
yeah.
This is something that was really crazy. That if you're talking to me and you right now, and that's you, then who's the voice inside your head?
So this is where we get into
No, we don't need an answer for it.
okay.
It's
because like I got an answer.
it's an
for
arbitrary statement.
that. I totally got an answer.
Who is the
for
voice
that.
inside your head? If you want me to give a simple, small answer before we go into all that, we can talk about that next time. The answer for that is that, again, you are not your body.
Right.
You are the thing inside your head.
Right. The thing. Yeah, I always call it the thing behind the eyes.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
that thing, how do you explain that?
Well, it's your consciousness.
You can't explain that.
Right.
No, but conscious.
It's an administrative function.
Yeah.
Like-
I mean,
No. That's why I'm saying I don't.
100%.
I'm saying
We have
I don't
more
believe that.
theories.
I don't believe any of that. Not that way. Your consciousness is your soul, and that is connected to the all of you that exists with the rest of the universe. That is outside of reality.
It's definitely possible.
That exists, and so we are basically like it's like our soul put on a VR headset, and now we exist in a pocket dimension within another dimension outside of what they is, and in a way we are basically living a dream version of
Right.
what our soul actually experiences.
Yeah, that's one of those that is totally a fun thought experiment. And yeah, it's it's fun possibility. It is definitely possible, but yeah, it's hard. It becomes hard to verify.
All right, we're closing it.
Definitely have a good.